Welcome to the parent guide for our next two lessons, which are on sexuality and that it is divine. So I wanted to give you a heads up about some of the things we'll be reviewing in the lessons and some ways that you can prepare. So part one is all about the law of chastity and how it fits in with the plan of salvation. I want you, before you watch the lesson as a family, to think about your individual circumstances. Many of us have family members who have same-sex attraction. They may be married. There may be some transgender kids in our family or adults. And each family is unique. And we need to navigate God's law of chastity and what we believe, while also teaching his law of agency and that everyone can choose for themselves. And that we will choose to follow God's law while also loving those in our friend circles and family who have chosen not to do that. It's an important thing to be able to do both because God loves all his children and he has given all his children agency. But for his plan to work in our lives, we have to obey his laws. So just be prepared to have that discussion, especially if you have a unique situation in your family and you need to walk your kids through navigating how to show love and acceptance while also choosing to follow God's law of chastity. There's a wonderful talk by Elder Renlund that I referenced in part one, and I've included the link to that below in the description box. He gave a talk with his wife, Ruth, back in August of 2020, and it's in the 2020 Liahona, the August 2020 Liahona. There are 7 additional articles all about sexuality, the law of chastity, how to talk to your parents about sex, meaning it's for kids, and how to talk to their parents about sex. But we can glean a lot of great information from it. If this is a subject you're not quite sure how to address, please read through those talks or listen to them while you're driving about and get prepared so that you feel like you have the information that you need to have these conversations with your kids because they need you. They need you to listen to them and guide them. It's a really tricky time in today's world and they need all the help they can get. So in my workbook called Before We Talk About Sex, I reference a talk by Elder Oaks, or it may even just be an article that he wrote, and I will link that below as well. He talks about the different levels of pornography use, and he talks about how as parents, we need to be very in tune with number one, we need to be a safe place for our kids to turn to if they are struggling, but we need to be aware of what level they're at and not treat them like an addict if they're not, and not to cause that feeling in them if that's not where they're at. We have to be very supportive and delicate in the way we handle our children as they're struggling and learning to develop self-mastery. So here's some questions to think about that I wanted to make a note of before you have these 2 lessons and discuss them. Number 1 is you need to make sure you're using proper terms of body parts and be very clear when you're teaching. Don't make them guess what you're talking about. Just be blunt. It's okay. They can handle it. Better than them being confused about what the heck you're saying. Also, when you teach puberty to your kids, and again, on the website, on the resources page, I've linked all the books and resources I use to teach all these different aspects there. There's a really great book called Growing Up by Brad Wilcox. And I have my kids learn about puberty for both boys and girls so they understand what's happening in people who aren't them. And they can have compassion and kind of know how to handle awkward situations as they're growing up. And then I would just start to be very intentional about asking them questions about their school day and if they saw or heard anything that they're curious about. My oldest, he had some questions and things that he saw in kindergarten. Some of my other kids were older, more like 3rd grade, but that's way younger than I thought I was going to be hearing from them. But by intentionally asking questions, and then this is the most vital part, being calm when they approach you. I cannot tell you how many times they've come home with a question or they've seen something or they've done something they know they shouldn't have done. And my mind is just freaking out with alarm bells. It's really hard as adults for us to remember that our children are not putting adult meanings around sexuality onto their experiences with it. They just don't know enough. But it's really easy to jump to conclusions and worry and just want to freak out. We cannot do that. We have to stay calm, curious, ask questions. What do you think about that? Why do you think that made you feel uncomfortable? What do you think you should do in the future? Just keeping it so calm so that you are a safe place for them to come to when they have questions in the future, because they're only going to be exposed to more and more as they get older, right? And so if you can stay calm and establish that you're a safe place for accurate information and that you will help them, you're setting yourself up for success down the road. I wanted to end with this term that I wasn't really aware of until a couple of years ago, but I think it's important for parents to know. It's called non-concordance. You can Google it and get some information about it. I didn't include it in the lessons because it seems like a more appropriate conversation to have one-on-one with your children, depending on where their curiosity level is at or what they've experienced with seeing pornography. I give some descriptions in the workbook on kind of some ideas on how I've explained the principle in easier terms for my children to understand. But that's just something I would maybe brush up on and be aware of. And again, if you want more information about that, I just kind of lay it all out in the workbook. I just feel like understanding that our bodies are going to have a sexual response to any sexual stimuli that we see, and how that can cause confusion, especially because of pornography and all the different things it exposes our kids to. I think it's a really important thing to understand and teach. So one final thought. I feel like this group of lessons may be appropriate for kids who are probably 8 or even 7 and older, depending on their exposure and your family experience. If your kids have not had any exposure to this, you may want to wait till they're even a little bit older. You need to determine what is the best fit for your family. But like I said, my kids were exposed a lot earlier than I thought they would be, and so I tend to teach earlier so that they're prepared and they know that it's okay to have questions and it's okay to come talk to me about things, but you need to decide what's best for your household. So check out those links in the description box. And again, if you have any questions or any topics you would like me to address in a future video, please head over to the website, uncommonsensebooks.com, and send me a message through the contact page. I would love to hear from you and help you however I can. All right, this is exciting. I'll see you for the next 2 lessons. Thank you so much for joining me for this lesson today. You can find a link to all of the healthy sexuality lessons here, along with a link to parent guides. If you found this lesson helpful, please share it with others who it may be useful for. Then head over to the uncommonsensebooks.com website, where you can find my resource page, links to my books, and you can also sign up for my quarterly newsletter. I'll see you at the next one.